Good evening. Did that work?
Hello, everybody, and welcome. It's 7 o'clock. It's Friday night, and welcome along to the Long Run Show live stream and podcast brought to you by the 40 Runs running community and our generous sponsors, Skechers. I'm Ian Wilson, and tonight I'm joined by regulars Chris Ford and Adam Bailey, and our special guest, our dear friend Ben Slater, who will be chatting to us about how his training is going for his first marathon in London and how he's going to cope accompanying Chris around the streets for 26.2 miles. So we're going to dive deep into that and find out what's going on. Loads of other stuff happening. Big races this weekend. Everything's kicking off. So how are we all doing? Chris, how are we doing, mate?
I don't know really. I'm trying to do the thing on here because Speedgoat's not here. Hang on. That. So you could, if you're on Facebook. Oh, we might not be on Facebook. Hang on.
Have you put us on Facebook?
Are we on Facebook? I don't know. Anyway,
maybe
we are, maybe we're not. But if we're not, we might not be. Welcome. Yeah, I don't really know what I'm doing, to be honest with you. I'm supporting Speedgoat. He's not here. He's
we were under the impression that Chris had got the hang of this technical stuff since we've been doing the bite-sized episodes on a Monday, where we leave him to his own devices and he flies through with his technical knowledge, his expertise on shoes and all that sort of stuff. So if you want your technical advice, Monday's the place to be for your double helping.
Yeah. I don't really know what I'm doing. Anyway.
Okay. But apart from that, even though you're here, we can hear you and we can see you. So perhaps you'd like to tell us how you are.
Yeah, I am. I'm well. I've got busy weekend. I'm back racing. And I've been discussing all week with young Ben about what to wear, which is, essential really. Whether we go vest or we don't go vest. Now, I have been called names by Simon for deciding not potentially to go for a vest. And I put a thing out on Instagram. If you're not following me on Instagram, it's 40_runs. Let's see where we're at, Ben, because it's important consumer advice. Hang on. At the moment, so vest or tee, at the moment, yes for a vest, 21%. No is 15%. Cowboy up, 64%. But I think that might just be Simon hitting cowboy up, cowboy up, cowboy up. So it could be that we are out indeed in vests, but it's looking a bit chilly at the Cambridge half on Sunday, which we're there to film. So I'm looking forward to that one. It's going to be good fun, but I am apprehensive because it's the first race of the year for me.
It feels like things are kicking off, doesn't it? Myself and Ben, we are also in our neck of the woods. There's another big half marathon. We are down at Chelmsford. I'm making my course debut there. Ben, have you done that one before?
I haven't. It will be my first time there. So looking forward to that one.
You're looking apprehensive, mate. Are you apprehensive about the gig or are you apprehensive about doing 13 miles around Chelmsford on Sunday?
I mean, I'm apprehensive about a vest and whether I'll get away with a base layer underneath or is that cheating?
That's a strong look. I think you either go vest or you go tee. You don't go vest with a base layer. That's because you might as well wear a tee, right? Al, what's your thoughts on this? Vest with underlayer?
I actually marathon PB'd in a vest with a base layer underneath it. So Ben, what am I to know? What do I?
So there you go.
We went to Gade Valley the other week. Myself and Ben, we were doing 17 miles sort of like club run, just like a long run sort of thing. And and he was there in the vest base layer combo, and then informed me that after 2 miles he was regretting the double garment strategy. So I wouldn't allow that to affect your decision for Sunday, mate.
That is true. I forgot about that. Maybe
we might be on Facebook because someone just wrote Facebook user. Or they didn't write Facebook user, but you know what I mean?
Yeah, if you can log in on the
I'll try that. I'll put that out. I don't know whether that's going on Facebook or not. Oh, I don't know.
Oh, we don't know. We'll catch up later and then we'll look at the Facebook feed and it will say, it was them. And we'll see them.
So what are we talking about tonight, Wilker? Can you let me know?
Well, we're going to talk a bit about marathon stuff as well, but I just wanted to have a quick catch up with Al because we've not seen him for a few weeks and been a busy time, mate. You've been completing your Parkrun A to Z.
Yeah, it was 2 weeks ago now. Yeah, 2 weeks ago. Yeah, on my birthday, big trip up to York, big turnout from fellow FORDYs, and we got there in the end. And I don't mean the actual journey. The journey and the actual parkrun was fine, but one of the barcode scanners went AWOL for 24 hours. So needless to say, there was a lot of anxiety about whether our Y would count or not. To the point where Sunday evening there was a lot of messages going, "Who's got their Y? Who's got their Y?" But hey ho, Parkrun came to the good. It all got sorted. We all got a time, a proper time, and alphabet is done. So roll on the next challenges.
There's loads of different challenges, aren't there, for this this Parkrun thing? But one that I know that isn't done is that York. If you don't know, York Parkrun is done at the racecourse on the Knavesmire. Also, the scene of where they hanged Dick Turpin. If you didn't know that, there's a historical fact for you. And there's another 5 racecourses where they hold Parkrun. So surely you should be ticking them off.
That's a good. Actually, yeah, there is within the app that we all use, the purple app. There is an opportunity to create your own challenges. So yeah, that could be something we're doing in there.
So now you've got to do Pontefract, Market Raisin, Warwick, Hereford, and Worcester.
Oh, okay.
So
I don't know where any of those are, but I'm sure we can find out. I just get given the sat nav code on a Saturday morning, and I just drive. So,
and it's a big Parkrun tomorrow, isn't it?
It is, yeah. If you're not aware, hopefully there'll be a massive turnout at Gunpowder Parkrun for one of our FORDY's probably youngest, but best supporter, Rose Sloan. She hits 150 parkruns. That's not junior parkruns. That's 150 parkruns, and bless her, she's 10. So she's been doing it literally since she can walk, and probably beyond. So hopefully, there'll be a good turnout, and we'll support her on her way. So looking forward to that. Early to bed, get up, and go and cheer on Rose. Definitely.
You're putting along, Chris?
Yeah. So that's Waltham Abbey. It's technically Essex, isn't it? Waltham Abbey, Gunpowder Parkrun. If you're in that neck of the woods or you want to do a bit of tourism, then get yourself. So I will be there. I'll be there. And then I was going to say something else, but I can't remember. My brain is fried today. I literally logged on to this about 10 minutes before. I had my dinner, threw it down my neck, and yeah. Anyway, Ben, are you going tomorrow? What are you doing tomorrow?
I'm at Aldenham tomorrow because PB Petra's RD, so I'm tail walking.
Oh, yeah. Big shout out to PB Petra. Hopefully she's feeling better because she was a bit Tom Dick in the week, wasn't she?
She was. She seemed all right last night at the North London group.
I was going to say when she was, getting on the old.
I'd also like to say, talking about the satellite group, so I'd like to say I had a great Wednesday evening with the London group. Made my debut with them. Very busy run along past Buckingham Palace out to Victoria Station. I hope Sue's all right because Sue Flynn had a bit of a tumble in front of a load of tourists right outside Buckingham Palace. But everybody emerged unscathed, and it was a lovely little run around the town. Good to be back running around London, even though it was very busy. So I will definitely be along there again. So if you're around outside Price Waterhouse Coopers by Embankment Station at about 6 o'clock on a Wednesday, you'll see a few people congregating and ready to go out for a run. And I suggest popping along and joining in the fun.
Now, I don't want to talk about marathons because we got hammered on the reviews. By the way, please leave reviews, negative or not, we don't really care. But it was quite, I shouldn't say amusing, but we got hammered for talking about marathons too much, apparently. So anyway, New York Marathon, did anyone get in?
Did anybody in the Western world get in? Because
I don't know
anybody say they've got in.
I don't know anybody. Let us know whoever got into the New York. I don't think anyone's running New York Marathon next year because I know nobody who got in. Now, I'd be interested to know whether you have to be in the US to get a place because it just seems like nobody in the UK that I know of got a place.
They did say that there are sort of 3 ballots. There's one for sort of people who live in the New York metropolitan area, and then there's one for people who live in the States, and then there's an international ballot. But like you say, I've not seen anybody say, "Oh, great, I got in."
Yeah, I think it must only be like 3 places or something for anybody.
Yeah, of course they don't say, do they? They don't say how many places they've got for these sort of things.
Very inward looking. Anyway, so so we are going to talk about marathons tonight. So whoever you were who left that comment, you might want to switch off now. Mind you, probably not. Listen, you're probably angry typing about somebody.
But then we might get on to something different. So you could always just hang around just in case.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it's just because we talk about it this week, we might not be talking about because we've done loads of episodes talking about other things. But anyway, we're talking about marathons because again, that person was critical. Everyday runners apparently don't run marathons. But I think a lot of us strive towards going towards the marathon distance, but also the stuff we do talk about can be applied to whether you're couch to 5K or to marathon. I think it's a lot of the stuff we talk about is applicable to everybody. But tonight we're focusing a little bit more on the London Marathon because young Ben is going for the London Marathon for the very first time. And we'll come on to that in a minute. But you've done a London, Al?
Marathon, yeah.
Yeah.
Done it twice, 2019 and 2021. So.
Is it on your I know you've done it, Wilco, but is it on your bucket list?
Oh yeah, I'd like to do it definitely, but then it's if I wouldn't be desperate enough that I'd have to do it. But yeah, I'm always banging away on the ballot every year to try and get in, and I'll continue to do so. I'd love to do it one day, and having lived in London and run quite a lot of the course, various training runs and things like that, it'd be lovely to do it on the big day.
And Ben's, you're going to be your first time. I'm going to be doing my 5th this year. Just before we get into that, I've got to give a shout out to Skechers this week. Big shout out to them. Mad love for sponsoring the podcast and supporting 40 Runs. We love Skechers, so thank you very much to those guys. And don't forget, because everybody keeps asking me still, the code for Start Fitness is 40 Runs. It can't be any easier. It's 40 Runs, all one word. Startfitness.co.uk. We don't earn anything out of that. But that is the code. You'd be amazed how many people still ask me for that, especially on Instagram. And I'm trying, right? Listen to this, yeah? I'm trying to get, if anybody knows, by the way, I'm just going off on a tangent here. If anybody knows of a Tracksmith code, because their stuff's like $8,000 for a pair of socks, right? But somebody said to me that the half tights are really good, right? So I'm looking at the half tights. I went on their website and they are £113. £113 for a pair of half tights. Now, I don't mind paying the £13 bit, but I was kind of hoping that somebody could give me a discount code that would get rid of the 100 bit. Because I look, their stuff apparently is high quality, right? Yeah, you've got to be an elite to run in it. You've got to be skinny, like a bit like sore running. You've got to be of a certain build apparently to wear it. It was like when I went on there, I misread what it said. It said waist, and it was like 30 inches, and I thought, yeah, it probably says it all really. The max waist, but it wasn't. It was the size of the garment. But the if anyone's got a code for Tracksmith, can they let me know? Preferably one that's going to get me about £100 off of those half tights.
You need to invite Steve on the show. He's already messaged saying he thinks he might know someone. So
I can ask if I know a pacer for Tracksmith. All right, Steve O, over to you. Send an email in to you can have my personal email address, cf@40runs.com, because I want that code. Yeah, I know. My own email. I want that I want that code. Because apparently these things, right, are very good. I think it's all psychological. So I thought it'd be a laugh, as always, to get them and see if they make any difference whatsoever. It might be a little bit tongue-in-cheek, as always. So if anybody does have a code. So, Ben, are you going to go half tights if I go half tights?
Are you buying them?
No. I was hoping that you would. That's where I'm going with this.
I mean, I bought new shoes this week, so sadly not.
Oh, what did you buy?
I bought the Max 5.
Hey, Skechers in the house. Another Skechers convert.
They're insane. The spring in them. I was trying to go at goal pace earlier, and I just kept getting faster.
Yeah, they're 60.
Are you going to wear them on Sunday?
Yes, probably.
No, you ain't.
Am I not? What am I wearing on?
You're wearing your race day shoes. We've spoken about this.
But I might. Are they not good for race day shoes?
Do as you're told.
Okay, so no, I'm not. I'm going to wear the.
But where did you get them? Because Sai got them for 68. I think 60. Was it? No, Speedgoat got them. It was. Did you get them same place? Sports thing.
Yes, I did.
Mike Ashley Sports, yeah.
Yes. Who can sponsor the pod if they want to.
He's got a few quid. He's not paying for Newcastle anymore. Spares a few bob, can he?
Al, would you wear half tights?
It depends which half you're talking about. Are we talking front and back or top and bottom?
Entirely
or left and right leg.
Entirely up to you, bro.
I think it just really depends, doesn't it? No, I've never gone for a half tight myself, so this would be new territory for me. Yeah,
it is a strong
talking to the guy that goes out in 8 layers, so half a tight doesn't feel like it works for me.
Wilco, would you rock the half tight?
I'd be open to try it, mate. It'd be nice to at that halfway house where you that sort of late about this sort of time, early March. Is it too cold? Is it a bit cold? Is it a bit? Just apparently it's going to be a bit cold next week.
Yeah, I think the half tight, rain or shine, is a good look. You almost look elite, but you're not. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
So when they're running back past you, they'll go, "Oh look, he's in." Oh no, he's not. So it's that sort of it's that sort of.
I'm sure there'd be other clues that they'd look at me and think and come to the conclusion that I'm not an elite before they look at whether I'm wearing a pair of half tights or not.
Well, the thing is, Wilco, I think they should try your pre-race ritual of consuming your own body weight in calories, because I think all of them could do with a good meal. Right, so sure. Al, what have we got in the I think most of it's comments in it.
Yeah, we've had a few shout outs. I'll just kind of touch on a couple that show our global reach. So we've got Two Sheds Glenn. He's snowed in the Pyrenees, but that means he's got nothing better to do than watch us. Big shout out to Glenn. And we've made it across the Atlantic to Indiana. So Courtney's tuned in from West Lafayette in Indiana. So, we're reaching far and wide. Couple of other things. Shout out to Mark Langhorn. Yeah, I think I saw you post on your Brighton half, and I've got a question for you, Mark. Did you get overtaken by the man carrying the fridge on his back? That is the big question. That was all the chatter in the group afterwards. He set a world record, apparently, 2 hours and 1 minute for running 13.1 miles with a fridge containing 26 kilos. And it was really weird. Brighton is always well supported and, had my name on my shirt and was getting loads of shout outs. And as we made the turn to come back along the prom, you could see people prepping with their cameras. And you're thinking, all right, okay, puff my chest out and get ready. And then you could hear people going, "It's the man with the fridge, it's the man with the fridge." And he went whizzing past towards the finish line. So hats off to him. That looked really painful, but amazing achievement. And talking about being passed by elites, it was another race for another incident. If you guys done Brighton?
No, I haven't.
No.
So Ben, you go up the hill, turn around roundabout road in, and come down again. So you all have an idea of how far we're into the race. We were coming back into Brighton for the first aid station at about 5k. And we saw a super fast athlete go up the hill. And we're going, he can't have won already. He can't have finished. Because obviously we were at the back and, it's like 30 odd minutes since the gun went. And it transpires he was a kind of semi-elite runner, turned up half an hour late and just set off and picked his way through the field to finish in just over an hour.
Hardcore.
It was that moment when you kind of go, he couldn't have finished. He surely could not have finished. And no, he hadn't. He hadn't even started.
Did he have half tights on?
He went so fast, I didn't look.
I bet he did. I bet he did. That's going to be me and Ben at the London Marathon in our half tights. Ben, this is me. We're going to get a code from Tracksmith. Trust me.
I am slightly concerned though. The man with the fridge is doing London as well. From what
Has he already announced that?
Yeah, I think I saw it on Insta the other day that he's running the London Marathon. So I'm slightly concerned. I'll be prepping for my picture.
Ben,
and then
I'll be honest.
I would just make sure you're in a pen behind him, and that way he can't overtake you.
He's the least of your concerns, Benny boy. It's Jesus carrying the cross barefooted that you've got to be more concerned about.
To be fair, Chris in my ear for 26.2 miles, man with a fridge overtaking me.
It's a tough one, isn't it? It is a tough one. Shall we, Wilco, move on to the wonder that is the London Marathon? Because we did ask
should Ben, before we do that, should we just allow Ben to sort of introduce himself? Because we obviously know him, but lots of people out there won't know who he is. But they sure, once they get to know him, they want to know him. So Ben, before we dive into your sort of marathon experience, can you just tell us a little bit about yourself and a little brief synopsis of your running journey so far and what you've been up to?
Wow, pressure on that one. So, hi everyone, nice to be here. This this is my first marathon. I've entered the ballot for the last, I think, 4 years. And this was the only year that I didn't go in for the second chance ballot and actually got it. So I was on holiday when I found that out, and my mum was like, well, can you not defer? And I was like, Mum, do you know how hard it is to get a place? Why would I ever do that? So I normally, my kind of ideal race is half marathons. I kind of love doing half marathons. That it's just nice to kind of get finished in around 2 hours and get to the pub. So I started running probably about 3 or 4 years ago. I think I tell a lie. I did the Reading half maybe 10 years ago. I got a random spot, did that, and then kind of didn't really run again after that. And then I just kind of got back into half marathons through Spicy Rachel. She was just kind of telling me to do. I do what I'm told, as you kind of as you heard from Chris. So and then I do go to Hertford Group on a Tuesday night, and then North London on a Thursday night. Parkrun tourism most Saturdays, and try and get out running most days. And it's been a journey. I've really enjoyed marathon training so far. Looking forward to the big day, he says now.
Now, Chris, it's been a team effort, hasn't it? Because you've been helping Ben along with his training and coaching programs and things like that. How have you sort of, like, with Ben doing his first marathon? He's obviously got a bit of experience of doing some halves and stuff like that. How did you approach, the program right at the start?
Well, firstly, I needed to slow him down, to be honest, because he's like a maniac. He just runs everything about 3,000 miles an hour, which is good in terms of effort and all that. But if you run a 16, 20 week plan and you're going to crash through that, the chances are the first thing you're going to do is book an appointment with Monica and go and see the osteo. So I think the first thing that we had to do with you, Ben, was to slow you down, to be fair. And it was to find a pace, an easy pace that was just so easy for him, that that conversational pace, that he could do those easy miles at, that we could do that base work of expanding his aerobic base. So we just took some of that pressure off so we could then work on the higher stuff. So like on a Tuesday where we shout at him to go harder, those sort of efforts, he could go full guns blazing, because ideally the rest of the stuff at the front of the end of the plan was at a lower level, because it was just that building phase to just expand his aerobic base, because he's very capable as a runner, but his biggest downfall is that he just goes hell for leather. So to temper some of that, which, when you're going into these longer distance events, and it's hard, say with the half marathon and the marathon, you need to temper some of that pace. You need to build some of that racecraft savvy, just ethics into your training of, this is a 16 to a 20 week plan. I don't need to be doing everything full on, because I'm only going to get injured. But that was the hardest thing to get into him. But he did it. I have noticed that his times have been creeping up on some of the runs where he's meant to be going slower. But I have tried to temper some of that. But at the same time, I did say that I've given him permission to tear it up on a few races and a few times to stretch those legs. But you can see the transformation. I know I'm talking like he's not there, but you can see the transformation from when we started to where he is now. He's able to maintain a much better pace consistently over longer distance. Is that fair, Ben, with the plan that we did, you?
As long as I'm not running with PB, then
no, don't run
it's fine. I've cut that out as well.
Yeah.
What was that, week 2, and she just kept getting faster. But no, I would totally agree with that. I think probably this time last year, my biggest struggle was I'd probably set off too quick and then struggle to hold it throughout, and then not be able to slow down enough to kind of recover and then kind of get in. I think one of your favorite, Hackney last year, I set off with big ambitions of kind of getting a sub around 1:45, hit maybe 10k, and I was done and kind of had to run to the end, and still came in, was happy with the time, but I think probably psychologically just disappointed that I didn't have that kind of endurance. Whereas what I've found with this, I think, Wilco said earlier when we did Gade, I kind of did 2 at goal, 1 easy, and actually I'm now learning how to slow down kind of after I've torn a few miles out.
Yeah, so you've got to manage it, and one of the reasons why I'm going to try and get in and run with him at the start is really just to hold him back, because the focus is those first 3 miles come at you at London. You're so pumped, you've got all the adrenaline, it's race day, you've been waiting for this for 16, 20 months, whatever it is, right? And you're raring to go, you're tapered well, and you're on the start line. And I know with him, if he's not careful, he'll go through that start line and he'll just go berserk. So we've got to try and rein him back to start with, just to settle again, he's not there, but settle him in to the pace in which that we've said to go for, because this is Ben's first marathon. So he's very lucky, and it's annoying that he's tall, skinny, and he's got really long legs. Okay. So in terms of his running, he's got a natural ability, right? And he's got a really good mental approach to it, the fact that he can grind it out. So if we can just get him through the first marathon and enjoy it and learn from the training that we've done and the process that we've gone through, but at the same time learn from the race and understand the process of the race, because there's 2 different elements in terms of the training and the race. But get that done, do it well, hold back a little bit, I would say, and then in the autumn or whatever you want to do, that's when we start turning it up a bit and going, right, now we're going to go 3:45, 3:20, 3:15, which he's very capable of doing. So it's moving in that right direction. But the first things first, slow him down, complete the race.
So, Chris, this might sound like a stupid question, but you're going to be there with him on the day. How to get him to slow down? Are you going to have a sort of like a prep talk before you go and discuss sort of times and let him get on with it while you're out there? Or are you going to be in his ear while you're going along?
Well, I'll be in his ear anyway, because I will talk for the whole time. Just ask anyone who's run with me. But no, the easiest thing I think I'm going to do, if you've ever seen the TV program Yellowstone, they ride a lot of horses and they have these bridles and these reins. I've got a set of them coming from Montana, and I'm going to put them on him. Right, and I'm literally going to hold him like this. Charlie, I'm going to hold him like this for 3 miles, and then I'm going to let him go. No, it's a simple. I think he's got to manage it himself. When we run as me, Speak and Si, because we obviously run together a lot, we're always checking each other. Like, so we did that 20 mile the other day. I think the video's coming out soon, actually, when we ran back from London, and we ran that to Phil deliberately, because we didn't want to go fast. So we was checking each other, because it was like, we're a little bit quick here. And it's that conversation between each other. And just because there's nobody next to you necessarily, have that conversation with yourself. Oh, this feels like I'm probably kicking on a little bit too much here. And just check yourself. Have a strategy before you start your marathon or half marathon. Always have a strategy. So I've got a strategy for Sunday. I've got a strategy for Parkrun tomorrow, because I want to use it for a certain reason. So if you're doing a race or event, of a certain caliber, I would say make sure you have a strategy before you go. So if you're stepping on the line of London, think about what you're going to do, because those first 3 miles can swallow you up. And by the time you get to 5, you could be so far ahead of yourself that by the time you get to 13, you're getting onto the way of being ruined. Yeah. And then it's just ticking down. And then you're going to get up to Canary Wharf and you're done. You're spent. You've got to turn around and come home. So those first 3 miles, which are not flat, they're up and down a little bit. They're not hilly, but they do move up and down. It does take some people by a bit shock, because they just hear London's flat. It's not at the start. It rolls. You want to use those first 3 miles to get your rhythm. And we spoke about it millions of times on this podcast. Find that rhythm in the first 3 miles of London, because the reason is because after 3 miles, everybody joins together.
Yeah,
everybody gets together. You want to get, when you reach that, and it's like, you think about it as though you're joining a motorway, yeah, and you're coming down, and you've got to get up to a speed that you can just literally shift into everybody. That's how you've got to feel if you're doing London and any race, to be honest with you, over the first 3 miles. But you want to feel like you can join the flow of traffic but you're comfortable there. So whether you're going in the first lane, you're doing 50, but that's fine. Or, and you're moving into the 70-mile-an-hour lane with everybody in their sore running kit and half tights like me, heroes. But you want to go down there, but that's how you want to think about it. So use those first 3 miles, right, in finding that rhythm. And because that will set you up basically for the race. It's like anything. So Sunday, I'm going to go out relatively hardish. I don't know how I'm going to get on because obviously I had proper flu the other week. I don't know whether I've got it there or not. So I'll go out hardish. But I've got to go out relatively hardish because I want to maintain that pace over the 13 miles. There's no point me trying to build that pace because it's 13 miles. I will struggle. So I've got a strategy. I want to get out. I'm going to do a decent warm up, but get out the gates and get into that pace early doors so I can find that rhythm of that pace. Because I think it's easier to, once you find that rhythm, it's easier to maintain. It's hard to build up to something, or like Ben was saying, to come down and then go back up.
Mm.
Yeah. So I would say anybody who's doing London or any marathon or half marathon spring, think about that. Think about the first part of the race as getting that rhythm.
I suppose, Al, it's always, it's the old thing about a marathon or any race of a significant distance, chopping it up and sort of like getting not too far ahead of yourself and just concentrating on that first 3 miles so that you put yourself in the position to do the best that you possibly can over the remaining 23.2. Can't hear him.
You can spoil your race in those first 3 miles by getting carried away, like Chris has said. And what I've found is if you're not familiar, and Chris has already alluded to it, you get the Greenwich and the Blackheath joining round about 5K. Just as you're settling down, you get another surge of excitement, particularly if you're kind of seeing your club mates running, coming from another distance. And so you then got to kind of calm yourself down again. So, it can take you another mile or so to get back into the rhythm once you've kind of had that point in the race. And if you don't get that right, then the next 20 miles can be a bit of a struggle. So it is, getting that early pace, that rhythm is kind of key, as Chris has already alluded to. Absolutely.
Right, Ben, you've got 5 questions. Let's get into these.
To be fair, that's one of the first ones, was talking about kind of pacing. So obviously, how do you deal with it in terms of, so my aim, as you know, I want to kind of go sub 4. We've worked out an average to get me, I think, about 3:55. So with a bit of leeway. But so how is 26.2 miles? How do you kind of spread that across? Is it kind of a slower start and negative splits? What do you think?
Depends on the runner. A lot of it depends. I always run my races the second half quicker than I do the first. That's just because my anxiety's up. And when I get to halfway, I usually have settled in. So it was almost like a panic attack first time I did London at 10K. Got really ahead of myself and really struggled to settle down. Lucky enough, my brother was out on course and I saw him and that kind of settled me down. So I always run my point is I always run the second half quicker. It's just the way I work because it's like, I'm going to get this over and done with. I think it very much depends on a runner. As somebody who runs quick, I would say you go negative split because that temper some of that aggression and speed and energy, and just try and even split the front. Get a goal for 13 miles. So whatever that is, 155, for argument's sake, let's say we cross at 155 or 157, probably 157, right? Check yourself over and go, right, I'm now going to go 156 or whatever it is. I've got no idea what the splits are, but look to do the second half because you should have tempered some of that energy that you would normally have, like a maniac that you are, into the second half. You should still, because you've controlled that, that should still be there and we can get into that. Obviously, a lot of it will come down to mental strength from about mile 22 onwards, but that comes down to fueling. You've got to get your fueling absolutely spot on. And that's something you really need to drill in, and we get into that later if you want. But for you, that's what I would say. Other people, it works differently. Some people go hell for leather and try and hang on, which can work as well. It depends how mentally tough you are, because that is a strategy that works for people, that they just try and get as deep in as they can and hang on for dear life. That's what Toad does. You know, he'll pick a hard pace and he'll just go, you know what, I'm going to hang onto this as long as I can. I will dip to see if I've got anything else. Otherwise, I'm just holding on. And as we know, that worked for him in Amsterdam when he ran 3:46 because the course was short. So there's all that to think about. So yeah, I think it depends on you as an individual. Is that comes down to it. And again, Ben, that's what I said to you about getting your first one done, right? Because we might make a complete cock up of it, right? You might go out and go, you know what? I could have probably gone harder, or I was done by 30, whatever. Do you know what I mean? And that's the key to that. That's why I always say, get your first one done, learn from it, understand your good bits, understand your bad bits, understand what went well in your training, understand what went well in your fueling. More importantly, understand the mistakes you made. And then you go again, and then you build on that. And that's the way. These marathons are bleeding hard, and half marathons are bleeding hard. And until you've done a few of them, until you've been through some of the blocks and you've made complete muck-ups of them, like I said to you, that panic attack at 10K, so I knew that I potentially had that coming. So I was prepped for it mentally. Yeah, that's how you learn through this whole running business, because it's all psychological.
And I suppose as well, it's the ability to be adaptable during the course of the race, isn't it?
Well, I was going to come on to something to be mindful of, Ben. You will run further than 26.2. So that second half of the race is going to feel longer because it probably is longer, and you'll have that cumulative effect. If you start losing a little bit on your GPS, you think you're on pace, and then suddenly, where's the 22-mile marker? Well, actually, it's still half a mile down the road. And that psychological impact can kill you, because it's done it to me. Now, I've found a little app called Pace Calculator that does all the normal numbers about 909 for a sub 2, but it allows you to adjust the course by either 1% or 2%, and then it recalculates your pace. And in effect, what that's doing is allowing you to bank a little bit of time. The other thing, probably not for your first marathon, but obviously, and we've talked about this quite a lot on other episodes, is about whether to run with a pacer or not. Their job is to nail the pace as consistently as possible. So if you think you're going to just be all about rhythm, then there's a pacer that will do that job for you. Some people cope with that and love it. Other people, find that really stressful. So I think you've just got to kind of find how you go on that first marathon. And if there is a second, a third, and a fourth, then you'll be able to develop your... No, stop laughing. There will be a second. It might not seem like it at about 2:20 on 23rd of April, but there will be a second one, I assure you. But the key thing is, you've done your first one, and then you'll start to kind of assess and evaluate kind of how it went and stuff.
There's a good point from that, right? If you blow up, right, just to put a Debbie down on everything, if you blow up, right, and you got to walk or you got to stop and take, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Okay, you're going to be doing a very, very, very tough thing, right? There's absolutely no shame. There's absolutely nothing wrong if you've got to step out of it and take a walk break and then walk it home to get the thing done. There's nothing wrong with that. Okay, if anything, you will learn from it. It's really good because you will learn from it. I think my first 2 Londons, I blew up spectacular. I think one, my hamstring went, and this, and I've done something else. It's just the way it is. But that's marathons. They're bloody hard. Okay. So it's not going to be all rose petals and honky tonks. Okay. It is going to go at some point in that race, tits up. How you deal with that is entirely up to you. Right. And how you pull through that and feel that. A lot of it, again, comes down to fueling, because you've got to keep this switched on. But don't be afraid of it going tits up, and be aware, have a toolbox effectively of things you're going to use during the race, half marathon, 10K, whatever it is, that gets you out of dodge, gets you out of the heat, because you've got to unpack some of that psychological stuff that's going through your mind, like I did, as I said to you, at 10K when I had that almost panic attack. It was you've got to have that in your back pocket. You've got to be able to pull a card out. Some people, I remember when I was behind. I went to one of these, the experts thing, which is London Marathon events. They're not experts. They're people just trying to sell their books, right? And they're paid to talk. So it's a load of old talk, right? Meet the expert. Anyway, I was there. I was backstage, and I was chatting to the psychiatrist lady, the sports psychiatrist lady, and she was talking about mantras, right? So whether you've got a mantra that you rely on, whether you've got something that's, you know, written on your hand that inspires you, or there's something that you can reflect back on, something that you can work out in your own brain that gets you out of that situation you're in. It's like, who was I talking to? I think I was talking to Mandy about this. It's like that thing. So panic attacks, right? So when I get on a plane, I have a panic attack, right? It's just one of those things. I think it's related to my ADHD. Who knows? We'll figure it out. But I have a panic attack when I get, so the advice is given is because you have those two sensitive things in your brain. One is fight, one is flight. Yeah. Now the way to deal with that on the flight technique, because that's what it's telling you, because your body's telling you everything's coming out of your brain, it's telling you get out of the situation, is to focus on something, to change that, shift it, to get it back to balance out. So whether it's, this might sound nuts, right? This is going to sound nuts, but this is brilliant. As you're running along London, there's a KFC. I'm going to give a good example. So if you're at that point where there's KFC, look at the sign of KFC and start thinking about the sign of KFC and going, I wonder what that would look like if it was blue. I wonder what if I could eat a KFC at the moment. And you're removing that flight sensation from your brain. You're taking it down a notch and you're now going somewhere else. That's one area. So when you're getting, shit, I'm at mile 22. Yeah. How the hell am my legs are done? Just think about, right, I'm going to focus on just getting to the next aid station, because at the next aid station is going to be a really nice person, probably a 40 runner, and they're going to give me a glass of water. Yeah. Or I'm going to get to the next aid station. I'm going to walk through that because I'm going to get 30 seconds to a minute. Have those little things as in your toolbox ready to pull out.
Yeah, I had a tough time at the London landmarks, and I ended up counting pret-a-manger's. So brilliant. I just sort of like counted it as I was sort of like, there's one. Oh, there's another one. There's another one. And then just sort of like ticked along like that. And that got me through a couple of miles doing that.
Yeah, good for you. That's a great one, Wilco. Count cars is the other one. Colours of cars. I've seen 3 red Fiestas. Now I've seen, I'll make you laugh, right? This is deadly serious. Wilco don't know this, but when we're out, we always count Wilco's car. Because whenever we see a green Fiesta, we go, it's Wilco, right? I'm being serious. You are shy. We always say, look, there's Wilco. It's just something, right? Do the same, Ben, when you're out there. Oh, there won't be any cars, but I've just seen, you know, and that's the sort of thing, you know, to distract you from that pain, or that, you know, you've got out, you know, that you're just a little bit unsettled. Right, what's your next? Because we ran out of time. What other questions you got? Come
on. And to be fair, that is a really good point on that, because I remember at Hackney when I blew up last year, I voice noted Spicy, and she did the classic, "You're almost there," and I was like, "I've still got half the race left. You
get that idiot who's telling you, "Oh, you only got a part run left." You're gone, mate.
Yeah, my favourite line ever after I've already done 4. So we touched on it earlier, and you told me off that I wasn't allowed to wear those as my race day shoe. So at what point should I choose my race day shoe, and how many runs should I have done in them before the big day?
Okay, you want to box fresh to a degree, but at the same time, so somebody asked me this on the live stream on Monday, and if you've got any trainer shoe gear, tune in on Monday. We get really into it. But I told them basically that I run them about 20 miles. Is usually it. So I'll give you an example. Tomorrow at Rose's Parkrun, I'm going to be wearing my Adios Pro 3s. You might think that's nuts, right? But it's not, because I want to get another 3 miles through them. They've already had about 13, 14. I'm not sure whether I'm wearing them yet. I've got the Endorphin Elite that I'm wearing on Sunday, which will actually, they'll be more about 30 miles. They'll actually be more than that. But you per around 20 miles is okay. Don't get me wrong. I've pulled some out and run, you know, a racing event in them, but I'm a little bit different with all the stuff we get. So that's what I would be looking for. About 20 miles is usually a good shout, but you want to try and keep some of that secret sauce in the shoe. Really. But yeah, I would, that's what I said to you. Get yours out, put a race through them. 30-mile race is a good race to do, because you'll be well aware if there's anything that gets thrown up. Like I had the Alpha Fly 2 for a race, and I was umming and ahhing about wearing them in Amsterdam, and I got a major blister on the arch of my foot, and then I thought that was it. That's all that shoe associated was blister march? Am I going to get a blister march on my foot? So that's another reason why I switched it. But I only learned that from doing it. Yeah. So that's why you really need to get them out, get them softened up, mainly in the upper and the insole. You know, just a little bit softened up. The midsole compound will be absolutely fine, but it's more just softening them up.
Can I just ask a quick question about this? Would you have a different approach if you're using the same model of shoes that you've already used? See, like I've got another pair of Endorphin Pro 2s, so I'm intending to wear them, my third pair, so I'm used to them. Now, would that have any bearing on the amount of miles that you'd do before you did them?
Yeah, because it's effectively a new shoe. So
no, but would that, the fact that you're already suited to them, you know what they feel like, would that have any bearing?
Yeah, but could have come off a different factory line. They could have come off. They might have changed the last slightly. I don't know. They could be anything. I've had exactly the same shoe, and they've come up completely different.
Yeah, right. If you remember, Wilco, we've had conversations here about people observing that different colours shoes come up differently,
different uppers because
of the manufacturing process. Yeah. So you just can never be 100%.
So don't take anything for granted. That's what.
No, the other thing
Ben
is try out a couple of different paces as well. So put a speed work in, do a slightly longer, easy pace, and just see how they react to those different. So you know what they say on the tin. Is that what you're feeling when you're putting them through those different paces as well? But 20 miles, 30 miles, I'd agree with Chris on that. Yeah.
Yeah, you want to try. And also, Ben, I mean, with a race, you know, you're going to get that feeling of what they're really like under pressure, you know? So, and it's good. It's only 30 miles. And like Al said, it's a great point. You know, you can, I ran those Adios Pro 3s for a speed session. I'm going to do 3 miles in them tomorrow, probably at goal pace. Got 13 miles. I'll go. But also, I'm going to do a little bit of goal pace, easier work in them to see what they're like at like a little back off, because like the Alpha Fly, if you go, you know, it's like at the end of the, you don't know what it's like, but at the end of the race, you're all over the place. Your form goes out the window. You're almost crawling on your hands and knees. You're ringing your mum up and saying, "Mum, I don't like this anymore. Can someone help me?" And you ain't worried about your form. You ain't, you know, perfectly striking where your foot is. You're going to be all over the place. So are you in a shoe that ultimately, that if you've got to walk from 17 miles, ain't going to be pretty? You know, that's the sort of thing that you need to. And that's why I made a good point in terms of the different paces and the different work in them. Right, what's your next one?
My next one's race day. So best thing, like kind of fueling on, not during the race, but kind of pre-race. And I know you've kind of talked about it a little bit before with admin and stuff, but what do you kind of recommend?
You're not allowed to call her that now. We got told off in the reviews that we're not allowed to talk admin, even though admin doesn't mind being called admin. We're not allowed to call her admin. And if we can continue to call her admin, we're going to get more reviews where we only get 2 stars. So don't call her admin. Sorry, Ben, carry on. What was it?
So fueling on race day.
Yeah.
Because one thing I noticed at Great North last year, I think I said to you, I really struggled because of how long we were kind of in the pens and stuff, that I'd eaten, I think, a bowl of porridge, and then by the time we started was starving. So what would you kind of, what would you recommend from kind of getting up hours before and kind of food wise?
Okay, so a couple of things there. Firstly, you need to do a run, a longish run, but even if it's 10 miles on a Sunday at the time of the race. So you can practice that, okay? Because the chances are, if I remember rightly, I might be a little bit out, but London usually starts about 10:30, I think. I think one year I went off at 9:30, but it's usually about between 9:30 and 10:30, because I always remember getting up a little bit later for London Marathon, because I'm usually staying in London, blah, blah, blah. But so practice that is my point, is practice doing that a little bit, and then try and get your timings right in terms of where you're having your breakfast. It very much comes down to personal preference on this one, okay, and how you are as a human being and what you can and can't tolerate. So like you just said there, for Great North Run, you didn't have anything. Simon went to Greg's and had, you know, a bacon and sausage baguette, and then had some other baguette. He ate them half hour before, and then smashed out 1:45 later and done nothing. So you've got to play about it. You've got to look at your carb intake, but you've got to get it right now. Does that make any sense? So if you're having a bowl of porridge, which is what all I would do. I'll have a bowl of porridge in the morning, but I'll have it like 2.5 hours is usually about my window. But then I won't have anything until I get going. Now that might be not optimal because so like Ben Parks, we were talking about this the other week. Ben has his stuff in the morning, then he has the Morton drink on the way to the race before he starts. Then he has a cyst gel, which is about 25, 27 grams of carbohydrate before he starts. Yeah. So it's all dependent on you. There's the science, and we'll come on to Al with that in a minute. But you've got to work out now and not much later than this, a strategy for that morning, because you do need to get calories in. You do need to get carbohydrate. Don't forget, you would have had a period leading up to the race where you would probably had a more carby-based diet. You don't need to go nuts and just eat buckets of pasta because that's mental. But you would have switched, hopefully, focused towards a more carby diet. So you'll have some of those stores built up anyway. But you do need a strategy and a plan now. Agree, Al? Because you're on more on this than me.
Absolutely. You'll be surprised, Ben, how much nervous energy you will burn through in that 90 minutes while you're kind of lacing up, dropping your bag off, getting into the pen. I probably wouldn't go down the Ben Parks route because I just need to pee. You know, soon as I go over the start line, I'd be looking for the toilet.
Yeah, and Al, sorry. I would say he didn't finish that race. He did that and didn't finish.
Okay.
Yeah,
I was thinking more. We've just talked about getting into a rhythm, and immediately you're looking for the first Portaloo. But what I've found is just keeping a little snack bar, whether it's an energy bar or half a bagel or a bit of malt loaf or something,
banana
in your pocket. If you don't need it, you know, if you feel fine, but you've got it there, and it becomes like that kind of comfort blanket that you might just nibble away just to take your focus off all the crazy nervousness that's going on around you. So use it as one of those tools in your toolbox as well. Just don't go for the 3-course like Si does.
Don't do what Si did. Whatever you do, don't do what Si. I still don't understand how the boy did that. It's just wrong.
A few pints of Stella on a Saturday night, that sort of, yeah.
Well, yeah, you could go the Wilco route and have 80,000 calories on the Saturday.
I like that plan.
Right, come on, we've got 8 minutes left. What else?
Cool. My other one was, I haven't really looked at the course. I mean, I live in London, know kind of London, but haven't gone into the kind of in-depth analysis. Kind of, you know, I know you were talking about like the elevation for kind of the first 3. Do you think it's important to check that out in advance? Would you just kind of leave it?
You're very lucky that I'm here because we did a video a couple of years ago, and it literally sets out the milestones. If you're doing London Marathon, right, and you're literally doing it for the first time, check that video out. It's 2 minutes, right? Another geezer hammered me, by the way, for just all I do is advertise my own YouTube videos on this. So whoever wrote that, again, you're welcome. But watch that video, right? And during that, it breaks it down into milestones. So like we just said, you've got your start, yeah, you've got 3 miles, everybody gets together. Then you've got Cutty Sark at 6 miles. At 12 miles is where usually, I always remember 12 miles because that's where Al was with the water station one year. Then you've got 13 miles, you're crossing the bridge. You're going to make that turn and go over the bridge, Tower Bridge, tick it off, clear that. I'm coming up to 13 miles. There used to be a VW garage. I think it's now a Saab garage or something useless on the right-hand side. You'll remember it from the big half. Fantastic event. But again, that's the point in which you check yourself over. You're then out going towards Mud Shoot, famous Mud Shoot, 15, 16 miles, 70 miles. You turn left and you'll see Canary Wharf. All you're thinking about them is the next 2 miles because they're bloody hard. And you've got to get into Canary Wharf. You get into Canary Wharf at about 18 miles. You then run through Canary Wharf, which seems to take forever. But you come out of that and then you hit 20 miles. You'll see the famous 20-mile sign. And then you've got to think to yourself, I've got to get to Embankment. Get down through that tunnel, come up through Embankment. You'll see the wheel for the first time, or the eye, or whatever it's called. I wouldn't mind, but I run down there pretty much every day. But it's called the eye. It's all down there. You'll come out, there's all those building works. Then you'll get to the point. Last year, they had it. I think it was last year. They had the Flora thing on the ground saying you've got 2K to go because you'll see Big Ben. Get to Big Ben, chuck a right. All you then got to do is run down there, birdcage, under the bridge, Buckingham Palace on the left, you're home and hosed. That's your course. I've just set it out for you. That video does exactly that. Those points, they're your reference points. Remember them because you tick them off. Remember we were saying about that toolbox? Ticking off the sites as you go round, right, is a big thing. One year I actually shouted them out to myself, like some nutter that I am. 3 miles done, thanks very much. I'm going to get into the party. Canary Wharf bomb. And I was literally, making a tick sign because that's the way I got round the course. And I would say the same to anybody. But that's basically the course. You've got the cheer station at Canary Wharf as well, the 40 runs. I always put my family at Canary Wharf because on the start line, all I'm thinking is I've got to see the girls at Canary Wharf. I mean, and they're always in the same spot by the lines, by the HSBC building, because that's where our brother works. I always remember it. Because when the first time I went up there to watch Paul do the London Marathon, that's where I sat and watched him. So it's that sort of stuff. So, not necessarily, I mean, you can say hello to Nick, she'll be up there, but it's the 40 runs cheer station at Canary Wharf for most people. But get there and then you're turning for home. So do you see how I broke the course down? So
Chris, do you think that's an easier process because we're all so familiar when you're doing London of all the landmarks because we've all watched it on the telly for years and years, and we all know the route from sitting on our sofa and watching it on a Saturday morning, even when before we were runners, because it's such a familiar thing. So, in that respect, is London a good thing? Is it a good thing to be doing London because you've already got that inbred sort of familiarity to it?
I think it's a good thing because of the crowds. I don't actually some of the stuff you miss because you go, oh, I'm here already, or I've just got so because of the people, the wave, and you're building yourself up because Cutty Sark's mental, right? And you come out of there absolutely buzzing. Was it last year? Whenever it was, I threw myself into the crowd because I saw someone in the crowd and I carried on. And then it was like Tower Bridge, and again you get out like whoa, that wave of noise coming at you, and it's consistent. It's because you're going down narrow street and everyone's on top of you. But you don't realise the first time that you're doing it, you don't realise probably where you are. But the reason it is so special is because of the noise and the wave of motivation and love that's sending you towards that finish line. You'll get it throughout the whole way. And I think this is the only thing I would say, the only caveat to all of this, and it's probably a good way to sort of wrap it all up, is don't overthink it all. Now, I've just gone through, the course and all this sort of stuff, and we're talking about breakfast and we're talking about this and we're talking about that, shoes and things like that. The biggest thing I think to anybody who's running any marathon or half marathon or whatever it is not to overthink it, right? What will be. You've done your training. It's gone as best as you can. It is, whatever it is on race day. Some days you wake up, you feel like a hero. Some days you wake up, you feel like Hayden, 75 years old, used to be in a boy band, ex-stripper, right? You've got two ends of the spectrum. Yeah, you don't know what you're going to get on race day. But whatever the thing, the most important thing is that you've got to say to yourself, today's going to be an amazing day. Today's going to be awesome. And I'm just going to have the best time ever. Because if it goes tits up, just start walking along, chatting to people, selfies, whatever you want to do. And just have the best time. You may only get one shot at doing London, New York, or whatever, Great North Run, whatever it is. Just remember the why. Just remember there, but don't overcomplicate it. Don't overthink. I'm not on pace. I'm 2 seconds behind pace. I'm 1 second ahead here. It's coming up to mile 3, and I'm not at mid-gel. Just relax and enjoy it. Don't overthink any of it. Very easy to sit here and say it. I appreciate it, but I've been on this horse a few times now, and it's tried to buck me off. So. I'm not saying I'm experienced because I'm still very much learning at the marathon distance. It's bloody hard, and I've still not accomplished what to get it right. I've not yet had a race where it's gone well, and I've done a few now. So it's really hard, but just enjoy it and don't overthink it. I think that's probably I'm going to take it out. Wilco, do you want to just hand over to you to finish us off for the night? He's on mute though. Could be a problem.
Sorry, the one time in 2 years I press my mute button and then I start talking. I hope Ben, I hope it's been helpful, mate. I hope you've enjoyed the experience and you've been able to tap some brains who've known something and been able to talk to me as well. So I hope it's all worked well, mate. And of course, we wish you very best of luck. And after such a brilliant debut performance on the long run, I'm sure we'd love to welcome him along again.
Oh yeah, I've already got co-host plans for him.
Oh.
I do
want to put him on the roster.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, everybody, for listening tonight and for your questions and everything. You can catch us live on YouTube and Facebook, hopefully at 7 o'clock on Fridays. Or if you can't see us live, then you can download us using your podcaster provider of choice, whether that is Apple, Amazon, Spotify, all the regulars. Please give us a review on there. Next week, Sabrina's in charge next week. She's going to be joined by Gemma Pedler and Mel Howes, and they will be having a chat with sprinter turned marathon runner Jatila Blake at the usual time. So please, we're looking forward to that. That should be really good chat. So we will not be here. Don't forget, if you've got a question, you can drop us a line either on the 40 Runs Running Community, or we have our own Facebook, Insta, other social media outlets. We're all there. So you can always drop us a line on them. 40runs.com/longrun if you prefer to do that. Eventually, we'll get around to do some of these emails. And we're planning a special in the next few weeks so we can sort something out. So thank you very much. Cheers, Chris. Cheers, Al. Thanks, Ben. All the very, very best for London. And I'll see you Sunday, bright and early in Chelmsford. So enjoy your running this weekend, everybody. Take care, and we'll see you next Friday.